action to stop, calling on Senator Charles Schumer to stop the Spectra pipeline that is 105 feet from the Indian Point nuclear power plant. And I'd like to start with a letter that I wrote to Senator Schumer. Dear Senator Schumer, my name is Neely Kelley, and I am one of your constituents right here in the city of Rochester. You have millions of constituents, many I'm sure you hear from on a daily basis. I'd like to tell you a little about myself. I grew up in South Carolina in a conservative Republican family. A big part of my conservative identity was denying the reality of man-made climate change. The idea that humans could have a permanent, lasting effect on our planet, much less our planet's climate, was preposterous to me. I joined the Peace Corps in 2001 and was sent to Gabon, Central Africa. In my village, the logging trucks would roll through hour after hour, day after day, hauling the biggest trees I'd ever seen in my life. Trees hundreds of years old, cut down at a rate that I just knew could not be sustainable. It was being firsthand witness to this environmental devastation that made me start to understand the destructive power of greed. Today, I eat, sleep, and breathe work in the climate movement, organizing to hold decision makers such as yourself accountable for actions to protect our communities and our planets for our children. I have lived all over the Northeast in the last 10 years, and my family and I settled in Rochester 3 years ago. I have two daughters, Jessie, 5th grade, and Martha, 4th grade. Today, they are here as our videographers and photographers. I have to share with you, Senator Schumer, that when I read Courtney Williams' story that we will hear in just a few minutes, a mother in the Hudson Valley whose house is 400 feet from this pipeline project, I cried. I simply cannot imagine living with the fear that a pipeline running underneath the school playground, and if it were to rupture and explode, with their chance of survival being 0. Senator Schumer, have you ever had to live with that fear? So although Jessie and Martha's lives are not in immediate danger from living next to and attending school next to this disastrous high-pressure pipeline project, their future is increasingly bleak due to the imminent threat of climate change, and they know it. And Spectra's AIM pipeline project locks us into more dependency on fossil fuels when we know we must invest in clean and renewable energy. When Jessie was 7 years old, she looked at me one day and said, "You know, Mom, you were really lucky to grow up in a time without climate change." How can a mother respond to that? How would you respond to that? They and all children alive today are counting on me and you, Senator Schumer, to act boldly and decisively to stop investments in fossil fuel infrastructure. And right now, you have the opportunity to act boldly and stop this one. Senator Schumer, this past August, I spoke to you at the Park Avenue Festival. You probably don't remember me, but you might remember my two greyhounds that I had with me that day, a black one and a white one. When I spoke to you, I thanked you for your actions and attempts to call attention to this Spectra pipeline issue, for publicly calling on FERC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, to stop the pipeline, take more time for environmental review. And still, I do thank you for taking those actions. But now I am begging and pleading with you to act to ensure this pipeline is stopped once and for all. FERC and Spectra have blatantly ignored yours and Gillibrand's requests and the will of the people of New York. They are beholden to no one, but you are. And I know you have said repeatedly that you have no power to control FERC, that this issue is out of your hands, but this is a cop-out. You are one of the most powerful legislators in the nation. You know Norman Bay, the chairman of FERC. No, you yourself cannot issue the stop work order permit necessary to stop this project, but you can call Norman Bay today and tell him to do it. Senator Schumer, I've spoken a lot about my fears as a mother whose children face an increasingly dangerously warming planet, and the fears of mothers whose children face an immediate threat from the Spectra pipeline project. But if I acted from a place of only fear, I wouldn't be here today. I'm here today because I have hope. I see hope and promise every day in the broader climate movement, in this movement to stop Spectra pipeline, and in the broader movement for climate justice. Mothers in Massachusetts are forcing companies to fix gas leaks that warm up our planet daily. In North Dakota at Standing Rock, thousands of people are facing dog attacks, pepper spray, militarized police, strip searches, and the desecration of their ancient burial grounds to stop a Bakken oil pipeline that threatens their land and their water. This is the same Bakken oil carried by trains through upstate and downstate New York, posing an immediate and long-term threat to our communities. In Lamu, Kenya, a coalition of over 30 community organizations representing grassroots, environmental, youth, women, and religious groups have delayed construction of a coal plant by more than a year. Indigenous people of Peru and Brazil are fighting oil extraction and exploration in their territory of the Amazon rainforest. People are rising up to stop fossil fuel infrastructure projects like the Spectra AIM pipeline and slow climate change. Just today in New York State, 300 of your constituents rallied in Manhattan alone, rising up and acting at all your offices across New York State, in Buffalo, Binghamton, Syracuse, Peekskill, and Long Island, DC, and there was even a rally in Worcester, Massachusetts. We know you have the power to act. We ask you do so immediately. Our children need you to be a climate hero.
Amen.